China-U.S. relationship is the most important bilateral relationship in the world. How China and the U.S. get along with each other will determine the future of humanity. Chinese President Xi Jinping said this as he met with a visiting U.S. bipartisan delegation led by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer on Monday in Beijing. It's the first trip to China by a U.S. congressional delegation since March 2019. What did the delegation do in China? Why did President Xi receive the delegation himself? What's been said and what's the potential impact? I'm pleased to be joined by Professor Zhao Hai, Director of the International Political Studies and National Institute for Global Strategies of the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, and from Denver, the U.S., by Professor Zhao Suisheng, Director of the Center for China-U.S. Cooperation from the University of Denver. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. First of all, Mr. Zhao, why did President Xi choose to meet with a congressional delegation? This is above protocol, and they met for an unexpectedly long 80 minutes.
Yeah, I think one of the most important reasons...
Sorry, it's a question for Mr. Zhao. I'll get back to you, to Professor Zhao. Professor Zhao Suisheng, I'll get back to you in just a moment. Zhao Hai, please.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, okay. So I think it's very clear that Senator Schumer is a close ally of President Biden, and his trip has important implications for the coming meeting, possible meeting between the two top leaders. So at this particular time, President Xi is receiving Senator Schumer to express that he's also sharing the same view from the U.S. side right now, that two sides need to maintain stability and move forward with the relationship, and to recognize that this is the world's most important bilateral relationship. And Senator Schumer represented Congress at this point, and congressional view on China has been deteriorating over the years, and the connections between the two parliaments has been cut. So moving forward, it's very important to reestablish that connection and also to improve parliamentary relationship. So I think President Xi shows that he recognized that importance, and by showing respect to Senator Schumer, this is a very clear signal that China is willing to work with the U.S. on improving relations in the next stage.
Well, Professor Zhao Suisheng, now the Chinese president mentioned in the meeting that he said, I've said this many times, and I've told various U.S. presidents that there are 1,000 reasons to make China-U.S. relations work, and there's not a single reason to break it. Why does he repeatedly send this message? Is it being too nice? Is there a change in his attitude? Why does he want to emphasize that?
I think, as you said, this bilateral relationship is the most important one in the 21st century in the whole world. And for China, and both for China and U.S., they can benefit from working together, and they will be damaged if they come to a confrontation. Here, when you say if they have softened their tone, especially from China's side, I think indeed. Remember, just several months ago when Secretary Blinken visited China, he was not treated that well, and even was.
He was also met by the Chinese president, by the way, which is also above protocol.
Yes. You see, the seating was so different this time, and he was on the side 9, and the president of China was at the top of the table.
At the table.
And it was not, that was not equal. This time in an equal position, and also he emphasized, as you said, China side tries to work with the United States instead of finding those kind of problems complaining to America.
Is there
especially about one year.
Yeah, Professor Zhao Suisheng, is there a slightly different atmosphere in the United States? Because a Washington Post editorial piece actually says, no, it's not weak for U.S. officials to visit China, calling the critics or the criticism of this trip being not only wrong, but dangerous.
And the unfair in the U.S. has not changed that much. Even though they have sent a lot of, Biden administration has sent many policy principles to visit China. In fact, the bipartisan consensus here for China is that China is not only a competitor, but also a rival, if not enemy. So this time we see a bipartisan delegation from the U.S. Senate, I think that is a very important sign that someone in the U.S. Wants to improve this relationship and stabilize this relationship. So Xi Jinping met with this delegation. I think it's a very smart move.
Okay.
He talked about he placed hopes on American people. These are representatives of American people.
Yeah.
And also the first.
Yeah.
Say,
well, there's a Chinese saying that people better not meet, because when they meet, when they look each other in the eye, when they shake hands, things will be different. Let me ask Zhao Hai, what tangible difference can it make, and to people in other countries in the world? From these members, for instance, Democratic Senator Maggie Hansen of New Hampshire, John Ossoff of Georgia, Republican Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, and John Kennedy of Louisiana. And they first went to Shanghai, then they came to Beijing, and they went to Xi'an, which is famous for its terracotta soldiers. Will the trip on the ground, will the realities they see on the street in China potentially make a difference for U.S.'s policy about China?
Yeah, potentially. I don't think this one trip will change the perception of the senators, and particularly we know that some of those senators has very tough stance against China. I don't think this one trip will change their mind. However, I think Shanghai and Beijing, all the major cities in China really give them good impression, a deep impression. And I think by taking this trip, they will have a better understanding of what China's economy and politics is going. So this is absolutely, I think, exchange and communication is necessary, and that's one of the cases showing that this is a necessity.
How will it affect other countries in the world if U.S. and China can get back to dialogue and sit down and talk? Zhao Hai.
Well, given the background, what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in Israel-Palestinian conflict, the world really needs peace and stability. And without China and U.S. working together, the world won't have a long-lasting peace and stability, and particularly in the Western Pacific. So I think at this moment it's critical that the two countries working together to push forward with peace agenda, both I think in Ukraine and also quickly reduce the tension between Israel and Palestinians, because innocent people's lives are on the line. And right now, I think the U.S. is trying to having this competition with China, and hopefully these kind of dialogues will turn that into a more healthy competition instead of a vicious circle that two countries are confronting with each other.
We have to leave it there. Many thanks to Zhao Hai and Professor Zhao Suisheng joining us for the discussion. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of The Point with me, Lu Xin. As always, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter using the handle Lu Xin in Beijing. On behalf of the whole team, thank you for watching. You've got The Point.